welcome to From My Lens. Today's podcast is called Activate Your Vibration with Deidre Sirianni. She's a TedX Speaker, Accelerated Evolution Guide, and Activator of Truth and Human Awakening. Today's episode has been completely mind-blowing with Deidre. One of my favorite takeaways was when she walks us through the 4 critical steps of reaching your higher vibration and purpose. But she also went much deeper and shared her dark times and to the woman she is now today. Through her personal development coaching, she has also made positive impact around the world. You are not going to want to miss this. Trust me. Now over to Deidre. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me today. I'm excited to dive into our conversation.
Absolutely. So just going through your bio here, you had mentioned that you basically about co-creation and aligning with your higher vibration. How do you do that? And what are some of the stages that you had talked about earlier with me? If you could share that with the audience.
Yeah. So the question is, aligning with your highest vibration in some of those stages. Beautiful. So the work that I do in the world, just so if you're listening right now and you're like, what exactly does she do? I
Mhm.
help people step into radical alignment with their soul's purpose, their highest path, and really collapse and dissolve obstacles that could be continuing to show up and block you from your greatness, from your gifts, from really owning your message, owning your voice, and really showing up powerfully as who you are. So, to answer your question, it's really like in order to be in your highest vibration, there's specific things that need to happen. And this is a specific sequence that I take people through when I work with them, whether it's my programs or one on one. And the thing is, if you skip one of these steps or it's
Yep.
out of order, you're out of alignment. And so I want to break it down a little bit. And I'm so happy you
Mhm.
asked this question because
Sure.
oftentimes when we're like, oh, I really want to have high vibration, I want to co-create, I want to manifest, I want to do all of these things, we're
Yeah.
actually not moving through this process. And because we're not, we're manifesting things that we don't want. And oftentimes we're in a space of delusion, illusion of what it is that we want. And then we end up manifesting and creating situations, outcomes, and relationships and all of these results that were like, actually, this isn't what I wanted. So the breakdown specifically to get into the space of your highest vibration in self goes like this. And I'm going to break it down. So step number 1 is the releasing and healing.
Mhm.
And the reason why this is step number 1 is because the truth is, doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter how great your background is, doesn't
Yeah.
matter what's going well in your life, you have stuff from the past that is showing up physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and then energetically. And oftentimes it comes from imprints and trauma.
What
So
do you mean?
imprints.
Yep. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. So you're not sure what I mean by imprints yet? Is that correct?
Yes.
I get so passionate, I just start going.
I
I'm a natural teacher.
love
So,
it.
so an imprint is anything, any moment in time, positive or negative in our mind that we want to label it as, that's happened to us, that's left a mark on us. So an imprint is a moment in time that you remember, and it could be something really great. Maybe you got a lot of affirmation from someone. Maybe you won an award. Maybe something awesome happened to you. So you have this like high energetic feeling and emotion attached to something that's happened in the past. So that's an imprint. And then there's trauma. It's the same thing as an imprint, except for usually in our mind, we're like, well, something bad happened and it didn't feel good. And there's a source of pain or anger or unprocessed emotion. Both
Mhm.
I look at equally. So imprints, whether positive or negative, they affect the way we show up every day.
Right.
So the reason why it's so important to release and heal in stage number 1 in order to be in our highest vibration is because every single person on earth, doesn't matter again how great your life has been, we all have imprints and trauma. And with imprints and traumas, we have an image, a thought, a body sensation, an emotion, and an energetic that happens when we have that imprint or that trauma in our
Mhm.
life. And essentially, because when we have an imprint or trauma, we
Right.
haven't been able to fully process the experience.
Now, another question for you here. So when you say some of the things that might have happened in our life, whether, no matter how great your life is, how, like, walk me through, when does it start? Like, how old are you? Is it like, does it start on an early age? Like, are you 7 years old, or how does certain traumas get so, like, say if you're 7 years old and certain traumas happen in your life, like,
Mhm.
do they tend to still stay buried even if you're 50 or 40?
Absolutely. This is a really good question. So, one of the things that I do in my programs and the work one on one with people is that I actually look at imprint. I call it an imprint grid. So, essentially, we go back and we look at themes in your life. So for example, say you have self worth challenges, or maybe around money, relationships, whatever the symptom is. It's like, oh, I'm not making the kind of money I want. Oh, I'm not speaking my truth. I lack confidence. And manifesting these toxic relationships. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
great. Like that's a symptom of it. And I help people overcome the symptom, but really we go to the root cause. So to answer your question, these traumas and imprints can go back to as early as 2 or 1 years old.
Wow.
And a lot of them we can't really unpack them, or they're challenging to unpack at the beginning, because usually we think of the things that have happened maybe recently in the last 5 or 10 years. But to
Hmm.
answer your question, can this manifest and show up in your life when you're 50? 100%. I've worked with many people who are in their 50s and 60s who are still having challenges with abundance, speaking their
Yeah.
truth, confidence, not fulfilled in relationships, not living their purpose, all of the things. And it always comes down, seriously, on a core level, to an unhealed trauma or imprint from the past. And
Right.
it could be as early as the age of 2.
Right.
So it's significant. And the reason why it stays within us, and I'm so happy you asked this question, is because, as I mentioned, when we have these traumas or imprints, it's like it's a moment that's frozen in time. Okay. So when we have an imprint or trauma, we haven't been able to fully process the experience. And because we haven't been able to fully process the experience, what happens is it hangs out in us. Okay. And
Okay.
it's the image,
Right.
the thought, the body sensation, the emotion, the energetics are within us, and
Mhm.
our subconscious mind remembers everything in our entire life, whether we were asleep or awake. And I'm talking about whether you're sleeping or literally
Yeah.
awake during the day. We
Got it.
remember everything and we can access that. So, with trauma and imprints, until we've completed the cycle of the imprint or the trauma, which is
Mhm.
going to the root of it and pulling it out, our subconscious mind is constantly being triggered by images, thoughts, body sensations, emotions, and energetics every single day in our day to day life. And we're not even aware of it. So much
Mhm.
so that we take acts of self sabotage. We step away from ourselves. We
That's so
move and
true.
we take acts. Yeah. And we take these acts of, addiction, or we create these trauma bonds with people in our life, like
Yeah.
manifesting partners that are not aligned with us,
And that
or,
could, yeah. a-
or,
And
oh, go ahead.
that could also lead to a bad addiction. I mean, you don't have to be alcoholic or drug addict, to have those sort of addictions, but addiction could also be attracting certain sort of partners in your life, correct?
Absolutely. So it's like, when I think of addiction, I think of this could be, you're addicted to exercising, you're addicted to food, you're addicted to
Yeah,
drugs, alcohol, pornography, sex,
sure.
dating, avoiding yourself, like really anything
Yeah,
that is taking you outside of the experience. So the reason why the healing and the releasing from the past is the most important step that so many people miss when wanting to raise their vibration and manifest and create and all these things, is because until you've actually healed that part of yourself
hmm,
and really done that deeper work, which is, a big piece of the work that I do, you're going to continue to manifest and create old realities in your current reality with the same challenges, with different people, with different situations,
yeah,
and you're going to be left with the same outcome of how you feel about yourself, etc., because you have not gone back and healed your traumas and
yeah,
imprints. So that is stage one of the work that I do, and it's super, super powerful. But most people don't want to do that work because they want to avoid it. It's
yeah.
uncomfortable, right?
Right, exactly. So it's almost like when you can't, it's almost like healing your, past traumas first in order to really evolve. Um, yeah. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the thing about that is the truth is I truly believe, and I did a TEDx on this, is that unhealed trauma is the root cause of all suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about individually, I'm talking about collectively, I'm talking about in our lineage, I'm talking about any conflict that's happening in the world really comes down to unhealed trauma. And the reason why is because when you've healed your core traumas, okay, proof, see this all the time in every way, shape, and form, you see things clearly.
Right.
And until we heal our trauma, our vision is distorted based on our
Mm-hmm.
wounds, based on things that have been incomplete. And so naturally, when we're operating from a place of our wounds, from our past, from our unhealed trauma, we create separation. We create the great divide. We make other people wrong. And
Yeah.
so when we look at the collective, like the entire world, we can see all of the conflict that's happening, and it has to do with collectively people have not
Exactly.
healed their trauma.
So
So once you
it's
heal
just,
your trauma, you have choice.
yeah. So what's currently happening right now around the world, it's almost like happening all at once collectively. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You got it. Hmm.
Okay. And I know we were talking about the four stages. So sorry, can
Hmm.
you walk us through the four stages again?
You got it. So number one is releasing and heal. And I really wanted to break that
Yeah.
down, number
Sorry.
one, because until we release and
Yeah.
heal trauma
Hmm.
and let go of the past, we are continually bringing it into the present and our future. So if you are in a loop in any area of your life and you're like, why does this keep happening? Or you're settling for less, definitely comes down to unhealed trauma, 100%. So stage two is
Yeah.
integration.
Integration.
So, oftentimes, when we are healing or wanting to move through something in life, right? Let's say it's a relationship, for example. You get out of one relationship, you jump into another. I've definitely been guilty of that in the past, not gonna lie.
I think
But
we
we
all
do that in
have
life.
somewhere
Yeah,
or the
yeah, yeah,
other.
right? We do it in our careers, we do it in relationships, we do it
And
with
why is
decisions
that?
that we're making, right? So, the problem with this is if we don't take the time and space to fully integrate what it is that we're shifting out of, it's very difficult to have a clear understanding of what it is that we want and to fully embody the changes and choices that we've made in order to recalibrate. So, step number two is integration. And this is a step that I see so many people miss because they go from releasing or healing or thinking they have to a space of empowerment and change. But the truth is, they haven't had that time, that rest, that space to really recalibrate and have a new understanding of what it is that they want to create and who they are, which is
Right.
why I believe more than ever, we have so many resources like podcasts like this, we have the internet, we can
Yeah.
literally Google anything that we want in the world. And yet, more than ever, people are more disconnected from their purpose. They're comparing themselves to other people. And
Exactly.
there's this lack of fulfillment. And it's
Yeah.
because they haven't taken the time to integrate the changes and really ask themselves, who am I? What do I want? What is
Yeah.
arising within me? So then there's the second stage, which is all about integration. And
Right.
without
And
the integration,
I'm just gonna add a little something here.
mm-hmm,
Also, I feel a lot of them are lacking authenticity just because, like you touched on, they're constantly looking at other people and comparing themselves to them, right? So it's almost like you're losing your own uniqueness. And that's the beauty of each one of us, embracing that. And I think they're not embracing it at all. So I think that's where that missing link is.
absolutely. And that's the thing. We've been taught it's a collective to jump from one thing to the next,
Hmm.
and we're overstimulated in the world that we live in. There's so many distractions. There's so many platforms like Instagram, Facebook,
Yeah.
TikTok, etc., where we're literally diving into other people's worlds, and
Hmm.
it's a way of avoiding our own world and really co-creating what's real for us. So the
Okay.
truth is, to go even deeper with that, it's like most people don't even know they're not authentic because they haven't had the time, they haven't taken the time to heal, and they haven't taken the space to really integrate and to ask themselves, so what's true to them, because
Right.
we're so overstimulated. So in the integration space, it's so important to ask yourself, well, what is my purpose? Who am I? What is important to me? And to really detox from those external, distractions outside of them to really get that clarity. And without that clarity, of course, we're going to be brainwashed and programmed with everything
Right.
around us, because that's how this world is set up right now, is to get us outside of ourselves so that we're not connected to truth.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So step 3.
Step 3 is activate. So this is the space that I absolutely love. It's my favorite space to play in with people. It's about activating your highest gifts. So in order to really step into your highest vibration of self, you need to have your gifts fully online.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean?
Yes.
So for example, let's say you think of like Beyonce. When I think of Beyonce, I think of, she's a diva, she's creative, she's super
Right.
like, here I am, I don't care what you think of me, and she's a trendsetter, right? And she's super confident. And of course, people want to be really confident. They want to be their creator of their own reality. But the problem is, so many of us are looking at people outside of us and we're trying to do things like others,
Like others. Yeah.
because,
That's it.
yes, because we have not activated our innate gifts. So the
Right.
next piece is activating the innate gifts within us, which is about turning on the parts of us that have been asleep. Because, if we go back to stage 1, which is like healing our wounds, sometimes our biggest gifts and our innate gifts that we're here to express in the world were suppressed or we pushed down because it didn't feel safe to be that. So
Do you think
it's
it,
about turning it
uh,
on.
right. Do you think it's also to do with like social society and culture in some cases?
Yeah, so tell me more about that so I'm a little bit clear on your question.
So for example, like, do you think, like it's hard and like you basically said people feel pressured and everything. Is that also because people are trying to constantly keep up with the Jonases, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so
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 like
for sure.
constantly trying to chase and compete with
Mhm.
others and they're and it's also going back to losing their authenticity.
Yeah, so to answer your question, which is a great question, that really goes down and back to step 1. Because when you heal your trauma, when
Yeah.
you clear yourself out from the main imprints,
Hmm.
you want to show up as your authentic self because you know the difference.
Yeah.
And you stop naturally comparing yourself to others because you've released those imprints.
Right.
So to answer your question, that's really done at stage 1 and 2. And then it won't be there in stage 3 because you're so aligned with your true self and your authenticity that there is no other way to be.
Right.
And so this is really important stuff too. And it's interesting because the people I work with and also in my own life of going through this transformation and these shifts within myself, people are like, oh, you just don't care what people think of you. I'm like, yeah, I don't.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, I actually don't. And I'm not
I
even
love it.
talking about it. I'm not like, I don't care, because it's actually, I just don't care, that I
Mhm.
don't even need to talk about it because I'm so focused on what I'm doing. But
Exactly.
whenever
I
we're
love it.
comparing ourselves to others, it's because we're actually getting lost in other people's realities and we haven't claimed our own.
And
So
truth of the matter is 99% they're not even thinking about you. They're only thinking about their own bullshit.
yeah, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so that's a super interesting thing. It's like, once you really wake up to the truth of who you are and who you're meant to be, which I really believe is stage 1, and then obviously stage 3, activating, you don't get swayed by what's going on with other people because you're so strong within yourself. And when you're so strong within yourself, you could have the most beautiful woman beside you or the most successful man or whatever it is that you want to be. And you would just see them and be like, oh, good for them. But you're like so not giving them energy, not because you
Hmm.
don't appreciate what they've done, but you're just so focused on your own mission. So
Right.
in this stage number 3 of activating your innate gifts, this is a really important piece because once you're activated, there's nothing that's going to get in your way from showing up powerfully in the world as who you are. And this is where people, some of my past clients, I'm thinking of one specifically, when we started working together, he was, bankrupt, like going through a lot of stuff. And then after a few months of working together, he just exploded financially and has had these massive opportunities. And everyone
Right.
around him is like, oh my gosh, like, what did you do? Like, your whole
Yeah.
life has changed. And it's seriously from these steps: releasing and healing, integrating and activating. Because once you're
Activating.
activated, it's like having those circuits, those electric circuits in your house, all the lights go off and then you
Yeah.
go and you like
It's like
turn
you're on
everything
a higher
on.
vibration or higher frequency.
Yes. Yeah. So all of a sudden in the dark, all these lights are going on like a freaking Christmas tree and you're lit up and everyone can see it, but you're not really paying attention to you being lit up because you're so focused on your gifts. And it's our responsibility as humans to heal, to integrate, to be activated, because that's what we're here to give. Right. And then stage 4 is all about co-creation. So the truth of the matter is, we can think it's all
What do you mean
about
by
us.
co-creation? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So we can think it's all about us. We can say, I'm amazing, I'm this, I'm that. And you're like, yeah, you probably are amazing. And you know all those things, right? But the truth is, we are constantly in relationship with the universe. And one of the things I teach my clients and I infuse into everything that I do is I teach them the important universal laws and how to co-create with the universe at accelerated rates. Right. Because the truth is, just like gravity, if you have something and you drop it, it's going to fall, right?
Yes.
So there's a lot of universal laws and truths that aren't being talked about very much, that aren't being respected. And that's why people are not co-creating things really quickly in their life,
and I feel
because they're not respecting universal laws.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
And they're also not questioning as well.
Questioning, tell me more about that.
Like questioning in a way that, being curious of their own well-being. I think like people just get on a, like, how you talk about triggers and unhealing part of that. And I think people don't question where that's coming from,
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's also the massive sort of a problem. So once you start questioning that, once you start to evolve from that, and I think that also kind of helps with these 4 stages. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. So the questioning, I think it's really cool that you said that, because I think even before going into the 4 steps, right, there has to be some sort of questioning. So for example, if you're manifesting the wrong relationships, if you're not feeling abundant, if you keep running into the same problems in life, or you're not really creating a life that you want to live, and you're noticing other people are, and you're like, how are they doing it so easily? Or I'm stuck in this problem. I think that itself is the questioning of, hey, I haven't been able to figure this out on my own. Maybe I've gone to therapy, maybe I've done all these things, but I haven't got the result that I want. I think that is the first part of questioning, and then asking yourself, do I want to continue to be here? And if the answer is no, that can bring you to do the work. But yeah, the truth is, and this is with so much love, okay? And we're all blinded in different ways. So I'm not perfect, you're not perfect. No one in the world has it all figured out. But I think the thing is, questioning 100%. And it starts within ourselves, questioning ourselves, our own intentions, what's coming through for us. And then once we do that work, we can really look at the world from a place of more alignment and question the bigger picture and what we want to shift. But it's very difficult to question what's going on in the world until we've actually started to do the healing work on ourselves, which I think is the first question. And that's the question, can I continue living the way I'm living? And if the answer is no, what am I going to do to get support to change it? Right. And that can be something as like, I want to have a better life, or maybe I'm in a really dark place and I really need to shift this because I don't want to live this way anymore. And then it comes into this space of like the soft questioning of like, what's that about? I want to get more curious, rather than the aggressive questioning.
So you're kind of getting more into details in your questions with your
Pardon
questions.
me?
So it's almost like when you say soft questioning, what you mean by that is going more in detail with everything.
Yeah. So when I think of soft questioning, I think of like questioning in like a gentle way, like, I'm curious about that, versus, I'm using the reference of what's going online these days. Someone posts something about whatever they're talking about, or someone posts an opinion and, they're questioning something that's going on. Then all of a sudden they're attacked, and there's all these people questioning each other from a place of wound, from a place of duality, which isn't healthy. But once you've done the internal work and you're soft, it's like a soft question. I'm like, what's really going on here? It's more of an invitation for the answers to come, rather than the aggravation of conflict.
Yes. I also think that it also comes from ego. which many of
Mm-hmm.
us have. And I think
Yeah.
that's something that we all need to collectively work on. Ego is one of that. And once you
Yeah.
realize to drop that, I think that's how it's going to help a lot of us to even heal from our traumas,
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing.
I think.
So, our ego, I actually just did a video on this. It's going to go up on YouTube probably within the next week, and it's
Awesome.
specifically on the difference between our personality versus our true reality. I mean, our personality versus our true self, our
Okay.
authentic self. And
Amazing.
so the reason why it's so difficult to be out of our ego is because it's
Hmm.
actually attached to who we've always been,
Hmm.
who people think we are,
Yeah.
our traumas, all of those things. So in order to break free from your ego, like seriously, bottom line, heal
Yeah.
your trauma. and
Exactly.
and 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 that's the gateway, and it's super powerful. But I have a video that will be going up if anyone wants to explore more on that
Amazing.
specifically. But
Yeah.
yeah, our ego, because it's kept us safe, it's kept us in a space of our reality, and breaking free from that is the unknown. And the unknown, it's like scary. That's why we stay in, and I say we, and I'm talking about collectively, abusive relationships. That's why we stay at jobs that we hate, and making less money than we want. That's why we say yes to things when we actually don't really want them, because it's safe, and safe feels better than the unknown. And that's what we have to break free from. And it really comes down to healing yourself and starting with that entry point of, healing your
Absolutely.
trauma and
Right.
questioning. And I love that you brought this up, questioning your reality and
Hmm.
asking yourself, is this really what I want? And if the answer is no, taking action to do something about it. So really
Correct.
great question.
No, thank you so much. And
Hmm.
I just want to know, like, how and what led you to go on this path and journey?
Wow. Well, how much time do we have?
We have time.
We got time. Okay, awesome. So I'm gonna make the story short because it could be
Mhm.
long.
That's fine.
Essentially, I grew
Make
up
it
in a
short because I
family.
do have a few more questions. So,
Yeah. I'll make the short version, not the detour. Um, so I grew up in a family, an amazing home, amazing family. But someone in my family was struggling with an addiction. And so naturally, when you are connected with someone with an addiction, you can develop this way of being that's called codependent. And there's a lot of
right.
different ways of thinking of what that is. And I won't break them all down,
Fine.
because that could be a whole episode.
Next time, I
But
think that could be my next podcast on.
totally, we'll have
Yeah.
a whole episode on codependency no more. So
Yeah.
anyone who grows up in an environment with someone who has an addiction, there's different symptoms. And so for me, it was like I had a dual life. I grew up at school and I'd be like the happy girl that was friendly and like close to everyone. But
Yeah.
at home, I felt like I didn't have that security and I had that disconnection. So I grew up people pleasing. I grew up keeping people at a distance, being friendly with everyone, always having a smile on my face, because it never felt safe not to be happy and to express that I'm all good, because I never had an environment to really feel the other feelings. And
Right.
so that brought me into my adulthood. Had a trauma when I was 19 years old. I was raped, and
Oh
I
my God, I'm sorry.
yeah, so many people this has happened to, and I think it's just good to talk about it because it's happened to so many people, right? And I'm sure whoever's listening, there's
Yes.
probably like over 50% who are like, oh wow, I've experienced that too. And it's just a part of the journey now, right? And
Hmm.
so I had a trauma, and I had a lot of body shame, a lot of disconnection, didn't have anyone to really talk to about it, and I
Hmm.
shoved it down along with all the other feelings and emotions that I have shoved down for my whole life. And I busied myself with work and
Hmm.
checking things off of a list.
Yeah.
And I got really good at getting the external validation for reaching landmarks and goals. But the
Right.
thing was, no matter what I did, no matter what goal I chased, no matter how many things I checked off the list, I would reach these goals and I get this external validation. And I'd ask myself the question, is this it?
Right.
Is this really what success is supposed to feel like? Is this really what love is supposed to feel like? And I went down the path. I got married, bought a house, did all the things. And I found myself, again, distracting from myself with work
Yeah.
and things outside of myself, because I wasn't happy, but I didn't know how to admit it to myself because I was so in the role of having it all together.
Right.
Until my body started speaking to me. And, from studying with shamans for years and all of that, like
Oh,
our,
did you do that?
yeah. And so my past business, I worked in wellness and, I was a yoga teacher and did a lot of that for about 8 years. And our soul is always communicating to us. So my soul was telling me, like, this is not right. Something is not right here. And I ignored it. I pushed it down because I was in a relationship with someone who was very consistent, something I never had when I was younger. And I thought it was love, right? And it was in a lot of ways, but I was scared of really stepping into the unknown and
Right.
stepping away from a life that I created that didn't feel like my own. And so the symptoms got stronger. I had anxiety, I had depression, I had panic attacks, anxiety. I had autoimmune disease, and
Right.
I shoved it down. And I made the excuse, as many of us do when we have illness come up, oh, it runs in my family. I'm just going to go get a cream. I'm just going to go get a pill, and it's just, the symptom's going to go away. But the
No, it's
truth
not.
is, it doesn't go away
Yeah,
until you listen to the message. And
exactly.
so I was already studying this stuff at this point in my life, but I wasn't really to really wake up. I wasn't ready to wake up to my higher truth
You weren't ready to
because
face the reality, it seems. Yeah.
no, and this is where most of the population lives, all of the
Exactly.
time.
I'm guilty of that as well.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And so I had all of these symptoms and signs. And then finally, I had my wake up call, and I lost a massive chunk of hair on the top of my head.
Yeah.
And it was a bald spot, and it was the size of a toonie. And if
God,
you're
your
from
hair looks
Canada,
fabulous right now. I can't even imagine you've been through so much.
well,
Oh.
I used to have mermaid hair, by the way. I don't anymore. But at that time in my life, from the outside looking in, it looked like I had the perfect life. And that was a story that I grew up in, like I always looked the part, but
Yeah.
it was the universe telling me, you can't hide the truth anymore. Now you've got to do something. And in that moment, after going to the doctor and being like, fix me, I don't know what's going on with my hair. The doctor said, well, I can give you this pill, or I can give you this, shot, but looks like you've developed another autoimmune disease. And I hate to say this, but chances are you're probably going to continue to lose chunks of hair, and you might even lose all your hair.
Hmm.
And so this is about like 6, 7 years ago. And in that moment, I went home and I made an oath to myself. No, this isn't my story. I'm not losing my hair. I'm vowing to myself that I'm going to listen to
Yeah.
my soul.
You
And it
knew,
was scary. It was,
like
yeah.
you basically knew that was it. You had to do something about your life at that time.
Absolutely. And my husband at the time, he was an amazing man. But, or I should say, and he didn't believe in spirituality, and he was very black and white, right and wrong. And
Yeah.
for me, my natural essence of self is all the colors in the rainbow. Anything's possible. Like, I'm very open-minded. So I squashed a lot of my magic, a lot of my true gifts, a lot of my
Mm.
curiosity, a lot of those things in the relationship, which
And it
was,
started to reflect on your body.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so in that moment, I decided to create a new story, and I dove deep into the spirituality space. I was already studying with shamans, I was already doing this work, but I started to really integrate it into my life. And what I discovered was that most of my life was created based on my personality and trauma and imprints. And I had to heal and integrate those changes, activate, and then co create. And in the process, I ended up leaving my marriage. I started a new business, and
Right.
I've stepped into who I truly am. And this is what I help other people do, because I can see it. I can see it in people's faces. And I've always had a gift of people's souls talk to me.
Right.
And I'll get a whisper, and it can be someone I'm seeing at the coffee shop. It can be,
Yeah.
and it's just a message of like, hey, this is how I'm feeling. I can see it in people's eyes and their souls and their,
Absolutely.
auras. And it's like, they're not happy, and I can see how quickly and easy it is to move through it, through
Yeah.
all of these skills that I've been building for the past decade or so,
Hmm.
and that I really truly believe I was born with, and what I'm here to do. And so the reason I do the work that I do is because I know on a deep level, if I didn't make the changes that I did at that time, I wouldn't be alive today.
Wow.
And I don't
Powerful.
think I would have, harmed myself. Like, I wouldn't have committed suicide, although I did have visions of it at the time.
Yeah.
My body literally gave me the message that if I didn't change my life, I would have cancer and die within a year. And this was about 7 years ago.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I believe it because everything else was happening so quickly. And
Right.
so there were a lot of things I was forced to do. And so now, like, I had to release the past. I had to heal. I had to integrate. I had to activate. I had to work on co-creating. And that truly is the formula, but there's so much depth to it and connecting with your soul. And so the reason I do the work that I do today is because my mission is to wake up as many people as possible to the truth of who they are and who they're meant to be.
Right.
And once that switch is on, it's seriously this ripple effect that goes to every single place that you are and gives everyone else permission to wake up to and to honor their authentic self. And through that, we heal the world. And it's as simple as that.
Right. Now another question I wanted to also ask, you said you studied shaman or you worked with shaman, sorry.
Yep.
Where was that? Was that in Vancouver or
Yeah. So I worked with a shaman in North Vancouver for a while. And
okay.
then I've worked with different ones, different ones in the lower mainland mainly.
Hmm.
But they travel and they do different things. So they're not necessarily in Vancouver all the time.
Right.
And
Got it.
and a lot of the wisdom I get is universal wisdom that just comes to me through many different well, I'll
Ways.
say, yeah,
Yeah.
different ways
Yeah.
that I receive information about the universe. Yeah.
That's amazing. So you're a channeler yourself.
Yeah, I am.
Yes. And I know you did mention your purpose, but I still want to kind of ask you that question. What is your
Sure.
purpose in life?
Yeah. So just to touch on purpose for a second, because I think this is
Yes.
important, is
Hmm.
that I think that this is one of the things I help people activate and understand about themselves, not through talking, but through them uncovering their truth, is I think that a lot of people think, oh, my purpose is to be an accountant or my purpose is to be a speaker. And it's like, no, 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 no. It's not about the vehicle. So I just mentioned two vehicles. You're an accountant or you're a speaker or you're whatever. Okay. Those are labels and those are the vehicles in which you deliver your purpose. You fulfill it, right? But your purpose is actually more of a message or a mission that your soul has been brought to earth to create and really bring to the world. And that can come in many different forms. So my purpose has always been the same, even when I was teaching yoga full time for 8 years, or when I worked in TV and radio. It's all the same as it is now. It was just a different vehicle. So my purpose is to wake up as many people as possible to the truth of who they are and who they're meant to be, and activate their highest gifts so that they can truly be the truest essence of themselves and their message and make their impact. And so for me, that comes through, yes, I do one-on-one work with people. You could call me a coach, a facilitator, a speaker, a lot of different things. But the mission, the message is the same. So I wanted to bring that up because sometimes we get attached to the vehicle, but the vehicle doesn't matter. It's just, what vehicle do you prefer most?
Right.
What feels the best for you? And your purpose it never changes.
Got it.
I don't believe it really changes. No.
Yeah, definitely. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Also,
Mhm.
you I know you're so as a life coach, sorry, as a life coach, do you sometimes find yourself kind of going back to your traumas or your triggers? Or, and even if you do that, do you catch yourself right away? And what do you do at that time? Like for example, you know, if say if I go back to my trigger right now, what do you think if somebody should do at that moment, you know, to kind of control that?
Great. So the question is, so when I'm helping someone move through something,
Yeah,
is
so
that the
so like
question?
so for example, we're all humans end of the day, we're also helping other people professionally,
Mhm.
whatever it is, but you like at yourself, like do you sometimes end up kind of going back to your traumas, or do you feel sometimes some things might trigger you and then you call yourself out right away, or what do you do at that time?
Right. So within myself and within the work that I do,
Yeah.
I don't get triggered very often anymore. Because I've done some really, really deep work. And
Right.
I don't say that from a place that I'm perfect, because no one is, and we're all evolving all the time. So what I mean by that is whatever someone is doing, I'm not taking it personally as my own stuff.
Right.
And so because I've done the healing work on my core traumas and everything from my past, and like this is literally like what I've dedicated my life to do is healing, I'm constantly being pushed to go deep and beyond maybe the norm within
Yeah.
myself. So for me, it's not so much about, oh, this person triggered me and now I'm upset or whatever it is. It's more like, oh, wow, this person is experiencing this right now and I'm witnessing it. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
it's
Got it.
not, there's not an emotional trigger attached to it.
Mhm.
However, if I were to see someone harming someone else,
Mhm.
it may trigger a response, which is actually human, to go and protect that person and to stand up for them if it's necessary. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And then there's
definitely.
also the part of me that's just like, oh, this just needs to happen. This person needs to be in that conflict with whoever because it's part of what they're working out. So it's like there's so many different layers to it. So to answer your question, if I'm being triggered and it's usually something that it's like a newer awareness for me
Mhm.
on something. And it's not with clients. Like I don't find it comes up with clients, but
Yeah.
it's more of like, oh, I want to get curious and educate myself here. Like, why am I feeling this way? Oh, it's
Yeah.
because of this. And I can notice the thoughts and then it just passes away.
Yeah. No,
Does
no,
that
I
make
meant
sense?
like, yeah, so I didn't mean with clients, but what I meant was like just with your own personal life sometimes like
Right.
you go back to that or
Yeah, I my core traumas, I've gone to the root, I've pulled them out. I feel really good about them. Like
awesome.
I've moved through them. I
Yeah.
see the higher perspective. I've integrated them.
Mhm.
So I don't necessarily go back and get triggered.
Yeah.
However, recently something came up for me
Mhm.
around something from the past that I wasn't even aware of that happened.
Right.
And this was like maybe a year or so ago. I won't get into the story of it
No
because there's
worries.
no point of it.
Mhm.
But I was starting to have memories of something that happened, a year ago. And I was like, oh, interesting. I didn't even know that that happened.
I think I
And then I,
remember you
Mhm.
talking about it with me when we met last year. But of course we don't, we can always talk about it later. Yeah, but anyway, go on.
Yeah, I don't know because I don't think I've shared it with anyone.
Oh, okay.
Especially, yeah, I don't think I would have shared it. But
Mhm.
with that being said, it's like when things come up, I process them, like feel into it, process it, maybe write about it. And I'm really lucky that I have so many tools in my tool belt that are ancient wisdom technology pieces that I use within myself to access and release things so that they don't keep coming up. So as
Right.
much as I do that stuff with clients, if something's coming up with me and I'm like, oh wow, this is a thing, I will literally go through this transmission or this process to do the same work within myself. And then it's like, oh, it's complete. So I don't stay in things for long.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that people in my community, they're like, wow, you went through what? And you're fine. It's like the next day. I'm like, yeah, it's fine.
Because I
Because
did all
it's
the
like
work.
yeah, because I know what to do. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, a lot of people go to, and I think therapy is great, by the way, but they'll go to therapy for like 6 months, 6 years, 10 years to resolve one core issue. Whereas within the work that I do, it's like I can resolve that within myself or
Yeah.
another, oftentimes within one session. So it's like, it's your time is your most valuable asset. And for me, I know that. So I don't linger in stuff longer than I have to.
Mhm.
Also I'm human. So of course I feel things. Of course
Of
I'm like, oh,
course.
that
Yeah.
happened and I need to process that?
Um, yeah, I feel like, when people go to therapists or people are so ashamed to even admit that, it's almost like such a taboo to even say that, oh yeah, I have a therapist or I'm seeing one. I just don't get why it feels so wrong to even ask for help.
Yeah, well, I think it goes against everything that we've been programmed. So if you just look in the media, like I don't watch TV, I don't watch the news, I'm not tuned in to all of the noise because it literally programs your mind. It actually does. So it
Yeah,
programs your belief systems, it programs your fears, it programs everything about you, how you purchase, if
exactly.
you alternate parts of your body, like
Yeah,
literally everything that we show up as in the world is based on programming.
exactly.
So I'm not into that. But the thing is, anything that we are doing, our behavior comes from our like unconscious, right? Or
Hmm.
subconscious mind, and we're showing up and we don't know it. So it's like, Yeah, it's just, it's really interesting how we're being programmed. And so it doesn't surprise me that people have shame or don't want to talk about it. And then there's people who talk about it as a way to position themselves in a way, or to, come across like they're XYZ. And it doesn't matter. But the thing is, the truth is, we're being programmed for so many things, and that's just a piece of it. So it totally makes sense. But I think like the biggest weakness that we have as humans is pretending we have it all together and not asking for help. I think those are the two biggest symptoms of not feeling of having that space of not feeling in control of our life. Because if we can't ask for help, and if we have to keep it all together all the time, we're going to have some major issues in our life, and it makes things hard, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's what happens when you I'm not saying being confrontational is, all the time good, but at the same time, you know, you need to be confrontational, just rather than keeping it all inside yourself, because that's what happens. Like everybody explodes.
Yeah, and it's interesting because so you say the word explodes, and I totally know, like, we all have all these emotions, and
Mhm.
in men, depression often shows up as rage and anger,
Yeah,
whereas women
definitely.
sometimes it shows up differently, right? So
Mhm.
sometimes it's a little bit different. So of course, yeah, suppressed emotions, when they come up, sometimes they'll come up, maybe at someone at, like, you're going to Starbucks and you're like, "Rah!" or someone who, or someone
Yeah,
close to you, and they're like, what's going on, right? Like, this has nothing
yeah,
to do with me. um,
definitely.
but the truth is, there's also this level of sacred rage. And this is something I recently experienced for the first time. So I don't experience a lot of anger. Like, I do process things if they come up, of course, but the anger and the rage that I've been seeing within, myself, or certain other people, it's like, if it's for a cause, if it's out of like helping someone and it's coming from a place of alignment and love, there's
Definitely.
something called sacred rage. And I
Right.
never understood that. And I started to understand, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what I'm feeling with like the collective or this challenge
Right.
really is sacred rage. And so it's
Right.
so interesting how there's different layers of emotions and different vibrations of them. And I'm like, oh, how powerful. I never knew that existed before.
Yes.
So yeah, there's a lot to explore for sure.
Definitely. Also, you did mention, I think in the beginning, very fairly about your program in September. Can you please just quickly talk about your upcoming program launching in September?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So, one thing I'm really excited about is it's called Turn Your Light On,
Hmm.
and it's a 12-week integrative program. And the beautiful thing about it is that it's 12 weeks of really stepping into the truth of who you are and who you're meant to be. It's a really fun, interactive program with a lot of people in it, with big hearts and missions, and really want to be the best version of themselves. And I take people through essentially the top things that I've discovered from working with people one-on-one, as well as facilitating large groups, of what are the main things that people need to strengthen and understand and uncover within themselves, to release, to integrate, to activate their highest gifts, and to co-create at an accelerated rate. And it's this program. And so it starts on September 21st. And in September, we're going to have some master classes and some things to explore and feel into this work deeper, and also to enroll in this program. And so right now we're on week 10 of the program. It's going to be wrapping up in the next 2 weeks. And we have 31 people in the program, and they're all incredible people, great at what they do. And their jaws are dropped open at the amount of value and transformation that they have. We have shamans in the group. We have
Oh,
healers. We
amazing.
have
Yes.
really powerful leaders in their own domains, and they're blown away by the awareness and the transformation and the deep, deep healing that they've had within themselves, and the results that they're getting in their life so quickly. So it's really an accelerated path
That's
to your
amazing.
own evolution, your own freedom, and really stepping into more fulfillment, abundance, and impact. And I am so excited about it. So thank you
Wow.
for asking about that.
Yep.
Layers of emotions and different vibrations of them. And I'm like, oh, how powerful. I never knew that existed before.
Yes.
So yeah, there's a lot to explore for sure.
Definitely. Also, you did mention, I think in the beginning, very fairly about your program in September. Can you please just quickly talk about your upcoming program launching in September?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So, one thing I'm really excited about is it's called Turn Your Light On,
Hmm.
and it's a 12-week integrative program. And the beautiful thing about it is that it's 12 weeks of really stepping into the truth of who you are and who you're meant to be. It's a really fun, interactive program with a lot of people in it, with big hearts and missions, and really want to be the best version of themselves. And I take people through essentially the top things that I've discovered from working with people one-on-one, as well as facilitating large groups, of what are the main things that people need to strengthen and understand and uncover within themselves to release, to integrate, to activate their highest gifts, and to co-create at an accelerated rate. And it's this program. And so it starts on September 21st. And in September, we're going to have some master classes and some things to explore and feel into this work deeper, and also to enroll in this program. And so right now we're on week 10 of the program. It's going to be wrapping up in the next 2 weeks. And we have 31 people in the program, and they're all incredible people, great at what they do. And their jaws are dropped open at the amount of value and transformation that they have. We have shamans in the group. We have healers. We
Amazing.
have
Yes.
really powerful leaders in their own domains, and they're blown away by the awareness and the transformation and the deep, deep healing that they've had within themselves and the results that they're getting in their life so quickly. So it's really an accelerated path
That's
to your
amazing.
own evolution, your own freedom, and really stepping into more fulfillment, abundance, and impact. And I am so excited about it. So thank you
Wow.
for asking about that.
No, of course. If people need to find you, where do they go?
Yeah. So with the program is launching in September, and
Mhm.
that can be found at radicallyaligned.com. Maybe we'll add it to the show notes, the website.
Yeah.
And you can jump on there and learn more about the program. It's virtual, so really, like anywhere in the world, you can come and play. We have people from all over the world right now,
Yeah.
the States, Europe, Canada, and everywhere else. And so there's that. There's also the YouTube channel. So if you want to learn more about like your true identity versus personality, and you're kind of curious about some of these topics,
Hmm.
Google my name on YouTube, and maybe we'll add a link there. There's lots of free content, adding something every week.
Perfect.
And if you go to my website at radicallyaligned.com, I have this really awesome freebie that I really want to encourage you to go and take advantage of. It's I think it's over 20 different categories of your life, which is
Okay.
really, really cool.
Hmm.
And it's basically an assessment with a video series that shows you how to go through this assessment and see exactly what is in the way of you co-creating and manifesting what it is that you want at your highest vibration. And it gives you like so much awareness. So if you are in a space where you want to manifest that relationship this year, or more abundance, or be more in your purpose, or
Yeah.
whatever else, it
Right.
literally has this amazing assessment and some
Hmm.
videos that will support you through that. And it's completely free. You just have to go to my website, give your email address, and you'll get you'll have the opening for that, which is
Perfect.
so much value.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Deidre.
Yeah. Thanks for having
Awesome.
me. It's been a lot of fun.
Now, there you have it with Deidre Sirianni. I'd now love to hear from you guys. If you guys like this episode, rate it, review it, let me know your thoughts and what your favorite part of this episode was. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful day, and until next time, bye now.